Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the globe, or looking out from Artemis down. You could be looking anywhere. Could be exciting. We could be on a lunar orbit. Probably not, but it's worth thinking about. Welcome back to the Macro Lounge podcast. I am, of course, as always, your co-host Chris Bold, joined by the slightly subdued sparkly queen from Tauranga, Rachel Mead today. How are you, Rachel? The level of enthusiasm is overwhelming today, as you can tell. For this week, we thought we'd sort of cover a few things about prep, where things go wrong, like injuries. And why are we talking about this week, Rachel?
Because sometimes, regardless of if you're in prep or not, stupid shit happens. Okay.
Could you be more specific?
So the story starts when I was just making lunch. Okay, as you do, just making lunch. I go to the fridge and pull out my favorite condiment, sweet chili sauce, all-time favorite. It is amazing. And as I grab the bottle and start to walk over to the kitchen counter, the bottle slips out of my hand and straight onto my foot. Now, this is not a small bottle. This is one of the big, 750ml bottles, and it's, solid, thick glass. So this thing is heavy. So, yeah, it went straight onto my toe, and needless to say, I was on the ground for at least 5 minutes, and then I got put into a boot by my physio partner for the rest of the day.
Very convenient that, this was just happened to... Oh, look, we just happened to have...
Yes.
1, a physio, and 2, a boot in-house.
But we also have multiple pairs of crutches, so I was also able to use the crutches.
This is a full-service type establishment you guys are running down.
Yep. I got my foot strapped on my toe, because it was literally just on my, it was right on my big toe, so my big toe is now very black. Not broken, luckily. We thought it was for a bit, because the first day was very, very painful, but just very, very, very badly bruised. It was not fun.
That is also probably a good thing that, 1, not currently in prep. 2, I think this might have been a convenient way to get out of Bulgarians. Just saying, put it out there. It seems a little drastic. I would have just gone, no, like you normally do. But, large glass bottle. It's one way to do it.
I just thought I would test you. I thought maybe just saying no wasn't quite enough anymore.
That's true, because I kind of just ignore that now and go, right, I'm glad you've got that out of your system, and now we'll get back to our normal course of action here, shall we?
Of 10 sets of Bulgarians.
Yeah, I haven't done that to you for a while, although I did add some the Bulgarian drop set of death to Natalia's program this week, and she did call me a few expletives that we cannot repeat in public, which I was very stunned by. I thought,
I believe she did say she enjoyed it. On her story, I believe she enjoyed it.
Slightly disturbed me as well. I was like, good to know.
A little bit of masochism.
Yeah, I blame her partner, actually, whose name also happens to be Ed, so there must be a pattern there.
Obviously.
Anyway, we talk about things that actually happen when you're injured or sick during prep, and more importantly, how to not destroy months of your work by trying to be tough, which pretty much is what most athletes do. Look, the reality is injuries happen, right? They happen to everybody, and, if you consult with ACC, they'll tell you how many injuries happen, and I'd be surprised. There's probably quite a few injuries caused by large sweet chili glass bottles. I'm pretty sure that's a trackable metric, so we should look that one up.
I just felt betrayed. I was betrayed by the bottle of sweet chili. It's my favorite, and it betrayed me.
It was probably telling you it should have been the sugar-free one, but then it's not the same. It's like, that was just getting its own back. But they roughly, and this is a US-based statistic, there's about 1 to 4 injuries per every 1,000 training hours. Now, that sounds like quite small amount, but that's, I thought, about 1,000 training hours. If you're training an hour a day, in a year, you're probably going to go 3 years before you get an injury. I thought that was pretty good statistics. Unfortunately, I was misled. It was 1,000 training hours total across the American population. So, right, it kind of, and then when you start thinking how many prep athletes, when they start training, their resistance training, and then they're getting into the deep in the cardio. And so it happens. And the reality is you've kind of got to be used to it, and injuries become more prevalent during prep, because your calories drop, your recovery slows down, sleep often gets worse, the recovery of connective tissue declines, and fatigue just accumulates. So the more tired you get, whilst injuries may be rare, it's probably in prep when they're going to happen. And it's not just in bodybuilding, but in other sports as well. You're probably not going to go through prep injury or illness free.
your immune system gets a little bit weaker, and then your body is also something. Actually, I don't know how scientific this is, but like you don't have as much body fat, so you do not have as much padding to break
No,
any
that's
falls.
actually a scientific fact. Cushioning is it? It literally says here, according to the American Health and Fitness, blah blah blah. Cushioning decreases, is what it says.
So there you go. The leaner you get, the more likely you are to get injured because you do not have that cushioning to break your fall.
Exactly. These things are important.
Exactly. And then most likely also because you're not recovering, your muscles are going to be a lot tighter, which means you're more at risk of strains and snaps, I guess we could say.
Yep. We'll go with snaps. Snaps is good.
Well, no, snaps is not good. We do not like snaps.
Well, no, not just injured, but sick. I mean, how many times during prep do we hear people say, I've got this, I've got that, and it's like having kids when they first go to school. You pick up every single frickin' germ that little germ monster brings home with them because they are just walking petri dishes, and prep is kind of like that. You walk past somebody in the grocery store, they sneeze, you're going to get sick tomorrow. That's just...
I spent like 3 months straight being sick when I started teaching.
Yeah, I tell you, they're petri dishes. They're just walking petri dishes. For all our younger listeners and viewers, sorry, but frankly, you should be wrapped in hand sanitizer.
Yep, just wear your face masks at home.
Or at least around any prep athlete. So your athlete should have t-shirts that says, I'm in prep, bugger off and leave me alone before you.
Maybe we need to start selling those.
There you go. New merchandise will well, we were just discussing new heat presses and you wanted an upgrade, so potentially, look, business write-off.
Surely. That's how it works, right? If you write it off on the tax, it's free, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we might need to run that past some professional advice. If we know any accountants, please, advise us what we're allowed to claim or not. That would be great because
I mean, it depends on the
I go with the theory if I can code it into zero, it's got to be fine.
Surely. But anyway, back on track. So, in prep, highly likely to get injured. Also, even just overuse injuries are going to be a lot more common during prep because obviously you are exercising a lot more and resting a lot less. So, more at risk for things just like simple overuse injuries, which in that case, the only cure is literally rest. Stop using. That is the cure. So, if you just push past something like that, it's only going to get worse.
But we all know that the bro science answer to being injured and straining something during prep is to harden up and keep doing it. And which is why people end up getting worse because, that's not the way.
Which kind of relates to our topic from last week, which was more is not always better. Sometimes rest is good. So, how do we know when we have reached some of those limits that we need rest? What are our limits?
It depends. Yes, that's actually an interesting one, really. Because, I mean, everybody's obviously different, right? But you do need to listen to your body. And the reality of it is, in prep, most people are worried about a timeline. Like, I call it the muscle loss timeline. I miss a day or I miss an hour of cardio. It's like, oh, my gains are gone. I'm going to lose. I swear people think they're going to drop like 2 or 3 kilos of muscle because they took 2 or 3 days off because they were ill. And the reality of it is, it doesn't work that way. It takes about 10 to 14 days of inactivity for muscle to start to atrophy. So if you're sick for 1 to 2 days, or you're injured, as you said, from the repetitive use, it's not 2 days, it's not 3 days. It's 10 to 14 days. That's a long time.
And that's absolutely nothing as well. You can still do some things to maintain. So if you, for example, have a little bit of injury, like let's say got my foot, for example. So things like squats, Bulgarians aren't very good for me with that because putting lots of weight on the front of my foot is not good. I could still do hip thrusts. That is fine. I could still do leg extensions. So there's working around it, but that also doesn't mean that you should overdo it because your body still needs to prioritize recovery to that area. If you running yourself down, you're not going to be able to recover properly. So there is a point where, yes, take a couple of days off and then start slowly building your way back up. If it's too much, it's actually better to pull back. If you end up just making yourself sick and injured for longer, it's just going to have a more effect over time.
The reality of it is, if you have to take 2 or 3 days rest, there's minimal damage long-term in prep. It's really negligible. The problem is training through an injury can extend that recovery out to 4 to 8 weeks. And this is something that, little plug for Ascend, what's the full name?
Ascend Sports.
You're a terrible spokesperson.
I am terrible.
Ed, she's fired. He's sitting out the back going, it's Ascend training or something.
Nah, I'm pretty sure it's Ascend Sports. Sports and physiotherapy. I can look it up on Instagram. I will find the Instagram.
We'll tag them later, or we'll rephrase that. The producer will tag them later. Insert voice note here. The correct
Correct.
name is...
Ascend Sports Rehab and Performance.
Yeah, there you go. Google it. If you're training through an injury, the reality is you can extend that recovery period out from 4 to 8 weeks, which can actually obviously have a compromising effect on your training. But the reality of it is, if you've got an injury, as like Rachel said, you can work around it, because during prep, you're not trying to correct a structural issue. You're not going to achieve any form of hypertrophy. It's at this stage, what you're trying to do is hold on to the muscle. The reality of it is, if you back off because it's a repetitive strain or there's something that's going, and let it rest or let yourself heal, you're going to speed up that recovery period for that particular muscle or joint. But like, if you were to say to most competitors, oh, you're going to have to miss 3 days of training, they'll freak the hell out. But oddly enough, they're completely comfortable with running the risk of losing 8 weeks of training. It's like, you're willing to be stupid and hurt yourself and potentially have your prep time because you can't back the hell off.
It's the psychology of like feeling like you're not doing anything. I think like a lot of bodybuilders, because like we clearly have nothing better to do with our time than exercise. It's just,
this is true.
Generally people get into bodybuilding because they love going to the gym. Take that away, you feel like you're doing nothing, and you feel kind of, I guess you almost feel useless. You feel like you should be doing more, and you feel that guilt. And that's why people are like, no, I still need to go. So actually, my advice there is to, yes, you can go to the gym, but you do something like stretches or like a gentle walk, depending on your injury or illness. Just do something less than, like, relatively easy. Go to the gym, do your posing. So you're still in the gym, you feel like you're doing something, but you're not making things worse.
Yeah. I say modify, don't panic. You can, again, during prep, you're not going to try and grow your shoulders or, grow your glutes, unless you're a genetic freak, aka we just talked about it before. Shall not be named other than we'll just call her the goddess. You're not going to grow. You're just trying to burn energy, and you're trying to maintain muscle mass. So as long as you just modify what you're doing, and also make sure you're communicating this with your coach, because if your coach is tracking your workouts and they're like, Rachel skipped day 1, and you're like, and then she skipped day 2, and you're like, hang on. Whereas okay, if you're injured, let your coach know. If you're sick, let your coach know. Because if it's an injury, your coach can help you come up with other methodologies to avoid what's injured. Like, if you've got knee pain, avoid Bulgarian split squats. Now, Rachel's going, I got a bad knee. I got a bad knee. It's going to be every athlete's thing. Which Rachel does have bad knees, but that's a whole different story. Avoid deep squats, avoid using the Stairmaster. There's always a substitute. You can do leg presses, you can do hack squats, or cardio-wise, use the bike. No, I don't know why some athletes don't like using bikes.
I don't like using the bike.
It's because you've got long legs. You've got to pedal fast.
That is true. That's true.
Short people, it's easy. They just go like little mice.
Yeah, I got way further to go. It's a bigger circle.
It's all about distance.
Also, knowing your body is important too. So it's like certain people are just weaker in certain areas, stronger in others. So some people will find that certain things will trigger injury or trigger soreness. Like, for example, when I'm deep in prep, I actually can't walk on the treadmill incline anymore because my back just goes. Like, I get a really, really sore lower back, and I don't know. I even wear it's a waist trainer, but more for the support to stop the back arch a little bit. But even then, still not good on that incline treadmill. So I have to do Stairmaster because, I don't know, my body's in a better position when I'm in the Stairmaster for some reason. So it's also knowing your body and what is going to trigger that. If you are getting like really sore lower back like I was, for example, that's not good because that's then also going to affect your posing. Because now you can't pose because you've got a sore back. So it's also thinking about the onwards effects of what else is that going to affect in your prep, and how are we going to solve this? If you just don't do anything about it, you keep pushing through it, the issue is not going to go away.
Yeah. Although, to be fair, most bodybuilders will just ignore it. The concept of recovery and actually, addressing an injury, I'm pretty sure most bodybuilders, unless it's a compound fracture and there's a bone sticking out the side, they're like, bit of ice, a couple of ibuprofen, sweet. But the reality is, most injuries don't require stopping training. They just require you to be smarter. And we've talked about this in multiple episodes. Be smarter. do something that's smarter.
Generally, injuries, yeah, you can just find other ways around it most of the time. Like certain things, like for example, a knee is probably going to have a bigger effect than like a foot. Like say even an ankle, like your knee is it's a pretty important joint, or a hip. That's also a pretty big one. So those ones, yeah, you're going to find it a little bit more tricky to work around that. But generally, yeah, most of the time, if it's like a small injury, like even your back or something, I mean, your back is pretty important too. But like there is ways to
Got to agree.
you can go like machine assisted stuff is a lot less stress, you know? Like there's certain exercises that are going to be less stressful on your body in whatever area you're injured in. Illness, on the other hand, that one just requires rest generally and go to the
Yeah.
doctors. Please go to the doctor.
And it's the reality. Yeah, it's like, you know, yeah, I frequently say to people, look, like coaches, as a rule, most of us are not medical professionals. You know, the people give me, oh, I've got X, Y, and Z ailment. What should I do? And I'm like, go and see your doctor. You know, what am I going to tell you to do? Take a multivitamin and an extra scoop of protein and harden up and go back to the gym?
All you need
No.
is 6 capsules of fish oil tablets a day.
Is that the answer? Excellent. Good to know. Uh,
That was sarcasm, by the way, people.
don't go buying extra fish oil tablets. But there are some, I would say, red flags or non-negotiables. And like, there's a difference between something like discomfort and pain. Like if something's a sharp, something that's happened to one of the girls the other day, she was doing reverse hack squats and she described it as she heard a cracking sound. And I went, okay, yeah, that's not fucking good. Go home. She's like, should I just lower the weight? I'm like, can you turn? And she's like, I can turn one way. I'm like, no.
Oh, was this the neck injury?
Yeah.
I know who that was.
Yeah, I know. I was just like,
if you hear a crack or a snap, like or a ping, all of those sounds are bad.
Those are bad sounds. Snap. It's not rice bubbles. Snap, crackle, pop. Don't any of those things. Get the hell out. Go home.
Unless it's just like a typical like click your knuckles kind of thing. That's fine. But like if it's like any kind of like ping kind of crack, those not good. Go home, rest.
Yeah. Anything that's followed by a sharp, sudden pain, that is your sign to put those dumbbells down and get the hell out of there.
Worst case, you just have an early night and then wake up tomorrow. Oh, actually, I'm okay. Worst case.
Yeah, worst case.
That's not going to hurt your entire prep having, like, cutting your workout in half once. If you go home and you wake up worse the next day, that, on the other hand, is not good. So if you then continue your workout, it's only going to make it even more worse. Like, that was terrible English, but...
Yeah, but we got that. That's what we call a red flag. That is, stop immediately. And it's the same thing like, I don't know, if the pain gets worse, like, you know, you've got that strain, generally it's caused by repetitive use, and it's generally going to be something around the joint. So you're going to be talking about either like, you know, through the elbows, the number of bodybuilders that suffer from tennis and golfer's elbow, which I think is annoying because I don't play either of those sports, but I have both of the problems. So what do you do? If it's worsening, you're just breaking down. Cut yourself some slack, you know.
And let me tell you,
the other one,
those overuse injuries, if you get to the point where it's like a bit more chronic, like it's happening all the time, that is no fun because it can actually take years for that to then go away. Yep. You're like, if you just stopped initially or like pulled it back to before it got kind of past that line of no return, there's like a little line there, and then it's like, yes, you can recover from this, and then you go past that line and it's like, yeah, that's going to be a problem forever now. When you get to that point, that's not fun. No. When I used to be a swimmer, I obviously had shoulder issues because as you do. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, it's not as bad now, but it took me 3 years to not be in pain with my shoulder. Like, I used to not be able to even lift up a kettle. Like, I couldn't pour tea because my shoulder was that bad. And that took 3 years to recover from after I quit swimming. So, certain things, you don't want to get to that point where it's going to be a very, very long road of recovery. If you just pull it back initially, again, worst thing that's going to happen is you get a little bit of extra rest.
As I said, 3 days versus 8 weeks to a year. It's like, you know, is it really worth it? I had one happen the other day. Was like, if you have visible swelling, like somebody's like, oh, so my ankle's a little bit swollen. I said, what do you mean a little bit? So she sent me a picture of her 2 feet. I said, no, that's not a little bit of swelling. That is, go and see a professional advice.
Generally, you don't just swell up for no reason.
No, it's normally not just that. It's a little bruise. No, that's not a little bruise. But again, it's one of those things. And other things like sudden strength loss, that's likely an injury. And generally it's going to happen with some form of like, you know, unilateral single arm type or single leg type thing. Actually, I was watching an Instagram reel the other day, and some guy tore his adductor clean off doing single leg press. I was like,
Ow.
yeah, that made my eyes water a bit. And again, it's like, if you've got a fever, don't train. Be kind to yourself. You need to recover, and also don't run the risk of getting anybody else sick.
Exactly. Actually, that's a very good point because, yeah, a lot of time you might have a training buddy. You're probably going to get them sick too if you're sick. So just stay home for a minute, take a couple of days off. You will recover a lot faster, and then you can get back into the gym much quicker again. So it's just, yeah, when you push too far, you are just lengthening the process. You're actually not making it any better. You are actually making it worse. It's better to rest a little bit too much, to be honest. Something that I've actually been telling one of the other girls on the team is it is important to remember that this is, at the end of the day, it's a hobby. Even if it becomes a career, this should be something that's adding to your life, not taking away. If it's getting to the point where it's making you constantly run down, you're sick, you can't do like your job properly, you can't like be there for your family, that's a problem. You need to be able to be functioning. You need to be able to physically move. This should be adding to your life. It should be making you, and overall, healthier because we are doing lots of exercise. We're staying in a good body fat percentage. Overall, you should be a lot healthier and it should be adding to your life. You should be enjoying it.
Yeah.
We do it because we enjoy it, hopefully. Some people might do it because we enjoy suffering. But again,
We won't name any of those people, but
great coping mechanism. It's a great coping mechanism. But it should be adding to your life, not taking away.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It is a hobby for 99% of people. Oh, we were talking about the other day, like Andrew Jack, who's I think only just this week is.
How cool is that name? Like,
yeah. Well, it's not actually his real name, but I thought it was too, and I was like, that you'd have to be a bodybuilder. What's your last name? Jacked. What do you do? I do rhythmic dance. No offense to rhythmic dancers. It's a wonderful sport. Just the name doesn't.
Well, it's like Usain Bolt, or like if you have the last name Swift as a runner as well. It's like those kind of things. It's like little nod.
Yeah, it's like what were you going to do? Swift. Yep, you should probably be a runner. Okay, cool.
So really, I should have been into wine.
This is true.
Yeah, I should be an alcoholic.
Okay, we're not encouraging this sort of behavior. No. But I think the thing about most shows showing ending injury don't start as a big injury. They start because it's something a little small, a little bit of a tweak, and it just gets it cool. So, we're not superhuman. You're putting your body into an intentional state of fatigue. You've got to nurse it through the process. Don't ignore the small things for the sake of missing 30 minutes of cardio. Don't run that risk of missing 8-10 weeks of prep because you're not looking after your body. The recovery side is critical during prep. I frequently encourage people go seeing physiotherapists, seeing massage therapists, seeing acupuncturists, all of these professional professions that look after health and recovery. You are susceptible to illness and injury. So all you can really do is try and manage that risk. And that risk doesn't mean destroying yourself because you've got a little sniffle and my coach will be mad at me if I miss my half an hour of cardio. It's like,
that is something that's also across sports. Like there's been athletes in New Zealand going to like other like Commonwealth World events, and they've often had to make the choice of, okay, so I've been selected for this event, but I'm injured. If I don't go, I can potentially keep doing the sport for longer, but I miss this opportunity to go to this event, and then I may never have that again. So it can sometimes be a big decision, but the biggest thing to remember is, again, long term, you still got to live your life after bodybuilding. After bodybuilding, you still need to have a functioning, healthy body, ideally. And if you destroy that, it's very, very hard to get back. Like, there is you'll see so many athletes all over Instagram who have done bodybuilding, they've destroyed their bodies, and they're taking years to recover. Pushing past that point it is very hard to not do it, because it's so easy to get lost in the point of, okay, but I'm doing this prep, this is a big opportunity, I don't know if I'll be able to do this again. But 10 years down the line, will you still care? Or would you rather have a healthy and functioning body?
And again, it's about managing the risk. The reality of it is there's certain things that are taken completely out of your control, and some form of serious physical injury and all that sort of, that unfortunately, as Ray said, you might be targeting some form of world champs or something like that, which don't come around very frequently, and frequently you don't get the opportunity to go again. But if it's a serious physical injury, it's outside of your control. If it's a minor injury, by managing it and managing the risk, which could be taking some downtime, could be modifying how you train, your likelihood of getting there will make that decision for you easier. Again, as I said before, people struggle to take 3 days off, but they'll run the risk of missing 8 weeks of prep. It's like, you just have to be smart. And the same thing goes with being sick. I generally go with a thing called the neck rule. So if it's above the neck, like a runny nose, a mild sore throat, light training, etc., is still possible. You've got the sniffles and you're not feeling 100%. Well, you can still work through that. Sometimes your energy levels are going to be compromised and you're not going to have, you're not going to be, going, full leaded at the gym. But if it's above the neck, you're fine. If it's below the neck, like it's a fever or it's, chest illness or body aches, just stop, go home. Because if your body is fighting an illness, training isn't helping. It's stealing the resources away from your body to do what it needs to do, which is recover and get better.
And although, would you say though, for some people who tend to push themselves a little bit too hard in the gym, if it's above the neck, do you think that those people should just go home?
Some people need to just toughen up.
But I'm saying that because I know that some people, like when they go to the gym, even if they try to do a light training session, they just can't help themselves.
No, those are the people that should probably go, am I going to achieve anything in this time frame? And am I running the risk? But it's actually, I think it's an interesting way that you raise it. That's more of a psychology problem. That's ego versus intelligence. You know what I mean? It's like,
We're in bodybuilding, Chris. We're in bodybuilding. Ego wins. Every time.
Yeah, I'll push through. I don't want to fall behind. It's just tight. It's the fear that drives bad decisions, the ego forces. It's, as you said, it's the fear that they're going to miss out on something or that somebody else has toughened up through and that person, they work through that 30 minutes of cardio. I can do it. It's like, I think it's that fear that makes people train when they should rest.
We are slowly moving past that though, because I know there was a little bit of a trend a couple of years ago on social media that was very much like, oh, this person's working harder than you for longer than you, like you'll never catch up because every minute they're putting in, like da-da-da. And I feel like we have kind of started moving away from that, which is quite good because, there was like, a year or so, was it 2023? It was just all hardcore coaching was like it was the trend. Everyone wanted to be hardcore, no one works harder than me, blah, blah, blah.
Hardest worker in the room.
Yes, exactly. And I feel like we are slowly moving away from that, which is good because while that can be a good approach for some people, it's obviously not good when it comes to resting and getting injured because that does kind of feed into that mentality of, oh, no, but even though I'm a little bit sick, I still need to be working hard. I need to be the hardest working person. Like there's a balance of when to rest and when to work hard.
Something that bodybuilders are known for is their ability to balance.
Yes,
anything.
100 of always. No.
Yes. No. It's people just, I don't know. They panic. You've got the reality of what the situation is, whether it's an injury, whether it's overuse injury, whether it's something a little bit more serious, or they've got an illness, whatever. The reality versus the panic of, oh my God, I'm going to miss 3 days of prep. That's kind of what they think. The reality is that their training injured actually will ruin their prep, or training ill will ruin their prep.
Now, if you are not sure if you should pull back or not because you can't trust yourself in prep. Like most of us can't. Most people get those prep balls on and they just no longer have the capacity to make good decisions. It's like prep drunk. I don't know. Is that a thing?
It is now.
So at that point, what should we do? We should talk to our coach because your coach most likely knows you a little bit, hopefully, and they will be able to tell you if you should toughen up or if you should take a rest day. Now, remember, oh, hello, Rusty. Guest appearance. Mm-hmm. Remember, if you downplay what's happening, your coach will not be able to give you accurate advice. So, please do not tell your coach that, oh, it's just a little strain, like, I don't know, like, I think it's fine. Because if it's not fine, then there's no point in telling them that in the first place. So, just make sure you are completely like, this is where we're at, this is the transparency, this is kind of how I feel about it. You let me know what you think you should do.
Yeah, and frequently and don't wait till a check-in time. It's like, if you've got a weekly check-in or a fortnightly or however, whatever cycle that your coach has you on, waiting till after like 7 days or even if it's a monthly in-person check-in to tell your coach that you've been sick for 3 weeks, you're not doing yourself any favors because they can't react and give you some advice and some guidance. And sometimes it is tough love, and sometimes it is literally like, okay, well, let's just back off. And you know, the myth that rest causes muscle loss. No, injury causes muscle loss. Illness causes muscle loss. You need to communicate when it's happening so that, your coach can guide you into where you should be going. Like, do you need to back off? Perhaps you need to, if it's a recovery and fatigue thing, it could be having to look at your nutrition because your body just doesn't handle that level of deficit. It doesn't handle, some people's bodies cannot handle super low carbs, and that's okay. That doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means we're trying to protect your body to, obviously a coach at the end of the day, they want you to get to the finish line, right? That's their goal, is to get you to stage. And, they're not necessarily going to push you to death's door. Here comes the police helicopter. It's make sure you're communicating in real time when it's happening so that, your coach knows, okay, well, this is why that you missed that particular training session, or this is why your numbers are down, because they've told you, button off, don't do that level of volume, don't do that level of weight. Maybe it might just be a case of like when you're injured or when you're ill. One of the girls at the moment is going through some pretty, shockingly enough, she's been diagnosed with another chronic illness. Love her dearly, but it's like, my God, you cannot have anything else wrong with you. But wait, surprise, yes you can. It's like, Jesus.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, surprise! You're like, I'm not surprised now. I'm like, really? Okay, what is it now? But, in prep, it can literally be a case of like, you cannot physically train, but you can burn energy. But, I don't want any of my team stressing out because they're thinking, oh, I have to. I'm just going to say, look, at this stage, we're just trying to burn energy. So can you do cardio? Is that going to interfere with anything? Well, okay, instead of weight training, we're just going to do cardio. I know it's going to be boring as hell and it's going to be no fun, but this is your choice.
Do not also do the thing that so many people do and wait until after the show to tell your coach that you did something or didn't do something. Please do not do that. So many people do that, like the day after or 2 days after the show. Chris, you probably had this a few times where people then go message you and be like, so yeah, when I told you that I took the week off, I actually didn't.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, you think I didn't figure that out. Yeah.
Please don't do that, guys.
No. Or the fact that, the scales haven't changed and you can see the information in the picture and they're not telling you. You're like going, mm-hmm.
So just be honest.
Okay. It's much easier for
much easier. Because even if you didn't do something, so it's like, let's use me for an example. I am very honest with Chris when I have not done something, or when I have done something. I tell him, and he plans.
More like when you have done something is when you tell me.
Yeah.
Yes.
As Chris knows this, he can plan for it. So even though, like, I think I was saying, like, at best, I was maybe 70% last year, at best, like, to be honest.
Until you had to be.
Until the last few weeks, yeah.
But then you were like, okay, now we got to sort shit out.
But Chris knew that, and so he was able to plan for it. So literally the entire prep, 16 weeks, I hit every single target we made because it was planned for. We knew what I was going to be doing and what I wasn't, realistically, and we planned for it. If I had told Chris every single time, like, oh no, but I was 100% on plan, like, that would make his job much harder.
That'd make your job much harder too, because I say, right, less food, more exercise.
Shit.
You're just setting yourself up, people. Honest communication with your coaches is
very important.
Yeah, and and we're talking about with Rachel's partner Ed in his line of recovery and rehab and injury care and prevent, not just injury recovery. Like one of the things that Ed does exceptionally well, we'll give him a little bit of props here, is it's injury prevention. And that's something that in this particular sport, we are terrible at. Injury prevention, like warming up, what's that? Mobility, especially me. All of these things, when it's really good to engage those sort of people as part of your team. Like, it's not just about having a coach and having a posing coach or having a nutritionist and all that, depending on, what you're doing. If you can have somebody like Ed and Ascend in your corner, your preps are going to be easier if you're looking after your body, if you're looking after your physical body, and if you're looking after your, not just from a physiological perspective, but if you're looking after your health as well, so your immune system and all that sort of carry on. And there's ways that you can minimize the risk. But somebody like having somebody like Ed in your corner, shout out, send hashtag, look at this, we'll get Valerie to post it later. That's a really something that I think as competitive bodybuilders or competitive athletes, when people, particularly when they start going into prep, it's just so unrecognized and underutilized. It's like, more is not always better. Suffering through, taking a concrete pill, harden up. I almost said somebody's catchphrase then, which would have got me in a shit ton of trouble, so I'm not going to say it.
But no, something that's actually really important there, though, is also just hiring whoever off the street is not also going to help you all that much, because most people don't necessarily know a lot about bodybuilding. So one of my clients actually is really funny. She is seeing Ed for physio, and then she'll come see me for posing. So we've now switched that order because he fixes her and then I break her. So that's obviously not a great way to do it.
Yeah, it's probably got that round the wrong way.
So we have
maybe it could help with the mobility. She might be able to get further rotation.
Yes. So because also he knows that she's doing bodybuilding that I'm working with on posing, and that she is doing that type of movement, which is going to give an extra understanding of what is the injury actually going to be, how is it affecting that, because bikini athletes, especially if you're doing something like IFBB and you're posing on one side all the time, it's going to very much tighten and stiffen up that one side. So you will end up with imbalances. So having someone who knows a little bit about the sport that you're doing is very, very helpful. Not all physios are able to do sports physio. Some physios are, general physio is great for if you, mess up your ankle, I don't know. But getting back into sports is often a very different story, because you are now balancing an actual, a sport and doing certain exercise with your exercises from your physio and with what you are and aren't able to do. Sometimes they might not understand the movement that is required from that sport. So, for example, someone was to ask me about, I don't know, what's a random sport? I'm just having mind blank. I know water polo. But most people, if they were going to ask you about water polo and they would say, okay, cool, I have an adductor injury, and they're going to be like, yeah, fine, go play water polo. That's fine, you're in the water. No, it's not. Egg beating, you are using your adductors a shit ton. So sometimes they just might not quite know the movements that you need to do a lot in that sport. So make sure that if you are going to see a physio, that it is someone who knows a little bit more about sports, specifically weightlifting is also ideal.
I think it's one of the things with personal trainers. No, don't go to your physio. No, they are very important. And as any physio will tell you, that the most important part of the physio is not when you actually see the physio, it's the work they get you to do outside of physio. Which, if you're anybody like myself, an old school type bodybuilder, it's like I tell my physio, you know damn well I'm not going to do it. And she just looks at me and goes, well, you know damn well you're not going to get better. And I have to go, yep, you kind of got me there.
I have that issue too. I'm like, can I have a massage, please? And he's like, no, do your exercises. So,
yeah. So,
God damn
it. But I think it's one of the things that really annoys me in the sport with particularly personal trainers who bill themselves as
personal trainers are not physios.
Yeah. They'll build themselves as being a rehab specialist because they blew their knee out and they've rehabbed their knee. It's like, well, unless you've gone and got some form of continuing education and you've actually specialized in that, no. Recovering from a torn muscle or a torn tendon or whatever does not make you a rehab specialist. You've done your training in 16 weeks. How long's a physio take, Rich? 7 years?
Not quite. It's 4 years. And then if you have any ongoing training, you'd have additional from that. But yeah, 4-year degree.
It's a little bit different. So
a little bit different from our PT certs, which at most 6 months usually.
Yeah, and that's if you string it out. But that's the really, really important part. You will be injured in prep. It's 9 out of 10 times. It's going to happen somewhere. The level of severity. So most prep injuries aren't really bad luck. They're more likely bad judgment because you're fatigued and you just push through. You will get injured. Most likely we'll get sick.
We hope that you don't. But
yeah, we hope that you don't. We'd like you not to get injured, but it's quite possibly that you'll get sick. You're not going to lose a show because of an injury or an illness. You're going to lose a show because you refuse to adapt and you didn't follow. You didn't follow professional advice. You didn't follow. I mean, logically, most of us know that if we, particularly males, because we all know man flu is deadly. That is the most lethal illness on the face of the earth, and Ed will back me up on this. He's a health professional.
He does struggle. He does suffer from the man flu.
It's the worst pain known to man. I mean, it's way above childbirth.
He shattered his hand, shattered it into little pieces, and nothing. That was fine. That was all good. He wasn't even going to go to hospital. But man flu, no. He is bedridden. He cannot move.
Yep. It's a serious illness. It's underestimated by the female population of the world. I think there should be more research done into this.
That, along with plucking eyebrows, men are very, very intolerant.
Why would you do that? Eyebrows do what they're supposed to do. It's a natural thing. If you choose to, I have this discussion with Valerie all the time, and she's like, she frequently tells me it's my fault as a male that she has to do these beautification things, and I'm like,
oh, I'm not allowed to go near Ed with tweezers. Yep. I'm not allowed.
No, it's just like you can see the glimmer in your eyes. It's like that you suddenly go evil. It's like, ooh, look. Like, no, especially when you get to my age, you get hair coming in weird places that it never did, and it's just not fair. Anyway, moving on.
Anyway,
I think the thing you got to remember out prep, the goal isn't to survive; it's to get there healthy enough to present your best physique. So you've got to be smart. It's not about being tough, or it isn't about pushing through the pain or anything like that. It's like, be smart.
Yeah. Sometimes you just got to take a step back from yourself, take the emotion out of it if you can, and just think, okay, weigh up the pros and cons and look at it like, just try to pretend you were someone else. That's actually the best way to do it, is pretend someone else was telling you about your exact situation. What advice would you give them? Because usually that's very, very different to what you would actually do for yourself.
Mm, yeah. That whole thing, physician cure thyself, yes. Yeah. You need to sort of say, I frequently say to people when they ask me a question, I say, what do you think my answer is going to be? And invariably they actually know what I'm going to say. So they go, and I go,
so do you think maybe that's
you
the
clearly
way
have given this some thought and some consideration. So I'm going to say gold star for you. And could we just do that, please?
Yeah, again, always, I think that's honestly just the best way to do it, is to sometimes just take a step away and think, okay, if this was someone else, what would I say to them? If somebody sprained their ankle, you might think to yourself, oh, it's just a sprain, it's fine. But then if somebody else told you they sprained their ankle, what would you say to them? Would you say, oh, no, it's fine? Or would you say, okay, take the afternoon off, go rest it, get it strapped?
That's very true.
Chris is feeling very personally attacked right now.
Feeling that I'm thinking this is aimed at me.
I will say males tend to be a little bit more prone to issues with this situation and having clouded judgment when it comes to things like injuries.
Yeah, this is true. Unless it's man flu, then we just won't do anything because we're dying.
Yeah, you are dying, yeah, and you cannot move at all or do anything for at least 2 days.
At least it cannot be underestimated. It's again, your goal is to get to the stage in one piece and to be healthy enough that you can show all of the work that you've done. We all know that when you get to that peak week, you're not at your peak health. You are going to be the most susceptible to illness, and that's why we tend to taper the workload and taper everything accordingly. And that's not uncommon to the sport of bodybuilding, and in every sport they taper into an event so that they've recovered as much as they can be. You don't hear about the All Blacks going through a full-on contact drill the day before the game. It's just like you're just asking for trouble. Bodybuilding's the same. But the difference in bodybuilding is in this prep tail end, you are intentionally compromising your health. You're intentionally compromising your immune system, because when you get to that level of body fat that's required, probably more so in the male categories, they get obviously a lot leaner. You're intentionally cutting your calories down to the level where some of your bodily functions are not working kind of like they should do. You are consciously calculating the risk, but we still want you to get to the end. We want you to get on stage. We want you to present yourself in a way that everybody goes, wow, she looks amazing. We know that you're actually 2 steps away from being quarantined to bed for 3 weeks, but the pictures look good.
That's what matters, right? The Instagram photos.
It's all about the gram. Don't forget to buy your photos at the show, because it's all about looking good on Facebook. And it will be the best one. Facebook. Oh yeah, sorry, show my age. I haven't logged into Facebook in like 6 months. I forgot I had it. Somebody sent me a message. I was like, where'd that come from?
Okay, I do use Messenger, but generally most Facebook is dead unless you're using like groups or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, what else can we say about recovery? Just listen to yourself. Listen to your body. Listen to your coaches. Listen to put the right people around you to help you get there. And that is the likes of physiotherapists, massage therapists, chiropractors, if that's something that you subscribe to, acupuncture, anything that actually helps you get there and helps you recover quicker. If you've got an overuse type injury, allow it to rest, get some treatment for it because, again, are you willing to risk 3 days or half your prep? I'm not a mathematical genius, but I can tell you the difference between 3 days and 10 weeks.
But yeah, again, make sure those people are actually the right people for you, because even massage, I have had situations before where my coach got really, really mad at me. This was back when I was swimming, and I got a massage like 2 days before a big competition. So it's like, great, this will loosen me up. I'll feel nice and relaxed. My body will be in peak condition. No, unfortunately, the masseuse did kind of fuck up my neck a little bit, and I couldn't turn my head, which is not great for swimming because you cannot breathe if you do not turn your head.
Okay, how many lengths can you do in one breath, Rach?
It depends. If it's a short course pool, I could do 1 lap.
There you go. See?
But yes,
Who needs to
just
breathe?
make sure it's the right person for you, because yeah, sometimes it can make things worse if it's not the right person. Because we all know at every single job there's people who are very good at it and people who are not so good at it. It's just how the world works. So make sure you do some research. Especially look into, does that person know anything about lifting? I won't say necessarily bodybuilding because that's very, very niche, but at least weightlifting in some form or capacity, because that's going to be close enough. I mean, it's the
You
closest
must
we can
know
get
what a
usually.
squat and a barbell curl is. If you say I was doing curls and they go, "What you're doing? What?" You're like, "You're probably not."
But if they say what type of curls,
Yes, there you go. Then you go, ooh. And then you end up in a whole different conversation about everything to do with lifting something or other and this, that, and the other thing, and you realize that your 15-minute session has gone on for like an hour and a half, and they haven't actually done anything. So yeah,
no, but anyway, so yeah, make sure it's the right person for you. Make sure that you do have a good team and that you are going to be willing to see them, because sometimes people are just like, I need to go see a doctor. I don't need to see this person. It's fine. Put that into your budget if you need to, because I know obviously it's not always cheap to go see medical professionals. Have that emergency budget fund if you need to, just to make sure that if you need to go, you can. Because, like we say, you are very, very likely to get some kind of injury or illness while you're on prep. So make sure you set aside some funds for that too.
Also, it's going to sound weird, but when I'm planning out preps for people, I look at when they're competing, as in what time of the year. And generally, for some reason, we like to do bodybuilding shows in the middle of winter.
We do.
So I plan for illness. I build in buffers. Like, Rachel's seen the plans where generally it'll go 6 weeks hard, 2 weeks back off, 6 weeks hard, 2 weeks back. If somewhere in that, I know somewhere in that 8 week cycle, something's going to go probably sideways. So I've got the buffer to allow for, you're probably going to have some overuse injury. You're probably going to have some, particularly in winter, you're going to have some form of a plan for it. Now, think about when your show's going to be, what the weather conditions are going to be going through prep. Most of us aren't going into a show in the middle of summer when we actually want to be shredded. No, we're going to make sure that it's like, I remember going to the Arnold Classic in Ohio and just thinking, you poor sons of bitches. It was like -5 with a wind chill factor of 10, 15 degrees, snow everywhere. And I'm watching these girls outside getting ready to go into the show, and they're wearing bikinis and heels and silk robes, and you're going, yeah.
I've learnt my lesson. I've done that before, and I've learnt my lesson.
Like,
I bring dressing gowns now.
Yep. They might look like they came from Kmart and made from some form of man-made fabric that we don't want to talk about, but it doesn't matter. Warmth is important.
Warmth is warmth. I had this conversation this morning. I got picked up her suit, and she was like, oh my god, I am freezing. Like, this stage of prep, why would I prep during winter? I'm like, unfortunately, it's only going to get worse. It's not even winter yet.
Yeah, exactly. So what do you got lots to go for. So again, just plan for it, communicate, accept that it's going to happen and it's not the end of the world. As Ray says, sometimes it's tough to make that decision if it's a kind of like a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like, I mean, I've never been in the position myself, but I can imagine qualifying for the Olympia and then having to pull the pin because of an injury would be fairly emotionally devastating, because that doesn't happen every day. There's very few people that make it to that stage. Understandably, in some cases, it's going to be a really, really hard decision to make. But if you're talking about, I don't know, South Island Champs or the Lakes Classic coming up, will be 6 weeks?
6 weeks. 6 weeks.
We better book accommodation for that.
Yeah.
If it's a regional show, there's another one. Don't worry about it. And again, work with your team, work with your coaches, work with your partners, work with your, find the people that work for you, and just remember, 3 days is not the end of the world. You're not going to lose a year's worth of gains. It'd have to be a pretty serious flesh-eating disease for that to be the case. So hopefully we've shed a little bit of light on. We did do our Shan first. That was Rachel's turn to do the Shan. So Brooke, you're covered for this week. But we probably should. The cat's out of the bag already, Rachel. We didn't talk about this beforehand, but
yes, we probably should have talked about this last week.
Yeah, we did. I thought about that after we did finish. I mean, usually that's the way we go. We finish recording, we go, did we talk? So yeah, cat's out of the bag. We've through Rachel and I have a little one of many little side. Do we call these things side hustles, Rachel? I can't tell what our main business is anymore. I confuse.
I would say they're all just related businesses at this point.
Yeah,
They're like
true.
cousins
Yeah, like, yeah, that's true.
or siblings.
Which one's the second cousin twice removed by marriage? It's like, yeah, that one. No, though through the Accentuate Posing Academy, we announced last week that we were sponsoring ICN regional shows for the year.
So we are sponsoring bikini, wellness, fitness, and swimsuit.
Yep, that's right. So all overall winners in all ICN regional shows, APA, Rachel and I, we are paying for your registration fee for nationals. So that doesn't mean we're sponsoring it. Doesn't mean we're subsidizing it. That means that if you go to nationals, you are not paying for it.
Yes.
We're very excited about that. We didn't announce yet. Well, actually, ICN did it and then their email out. But we are also sponsoring the first ever APA Poser of the Year award, which will be at Nationals. We have a fabulous trophy, lots of sparkly things for that. And that will be awarded to the athlete that Rachel, myself, and I'm sure we will get Brenda's input on this, or we'll just make it up ourselves because, we like sparkly things from Nationals. And they don't necessarily have to be the overall winner. They don't even need to have to win their class. It'll be somebody that we feel did the best delivery or on-stage presentation. That's one we're really excited about. We'll do some posts about that as well. So we're very excited to get behind and support ICN this year. And yeah, that'll be lots of fun. Will I have to get different suits for every show though? Because it's like, am I going to have to start thinking about bikini matching? Because you're not competing this year, so I can't really match your bikinis. So we're going to have to talk about these things beforehand.
We might need a uniform. We can maybe we should get like the logo color, and
That's
that can be
very big.
You can have the tie.
I mean, I could do the old Miami Vice look, with the t-shirt and I think
we'll figure it out.
Yeah, eventually it'll come back in fashion. Yeah, so again, we're very excited about that. Get support around natural bodybuilding in New Zealand. As I said, that will be at the all regional shows this year, and then at Nationals we'll do the Poser of the Year. And yeah, that'll be lots of fun. What else have we got to announce, Rachel? What else has got anything exciting? What's going on in the world of bikinis down there? We got any news, any gossip, I have seen some new releases of swimsuits from you, which are very fabulous. I'm very, very impressed.
Yeah, no, like I said, I did fall into a bit of a hole of swimsuits. So I do have the new crossover style released, which I originally didn't want to do, but I've worked around what I didn't like about the crossover style from what I've seen on stage before, which was often, it was very straight across the...
It did look like literally they just put the straps on backwards.
Yeah, it's always very straight, which means that when you then put it on and it's pulled out to curve around your body, it then almost curves in and it just looks a little bit weird. So I have worked really hard to make sure that curves out so you get a nicer shape overall. So yeah, that's something that I did put a lot of work into, and I am doing a more modest coverage swimsuit. I haven't released that one officially yet, but I have got a few trial ones. I need to put 2 more up. So I'm still kind of playing around with that one a little bit. A couple of minor tweaks. If anyone does want it, I can make it for you. That's fine. I just haven't got an official release yet because I need to grade the sizing and everything, which takes a bit of time. But I can make sure I prioritize whatever size you are if you need one. But yeah, just for ladies who are maybe not entirely comfortable having the less coverage, or if they've done a transformation, maybe they've got some loose skin. It has sometimes having the really thin straps on the sides, it can dig in a little bit, it can cause discomfort. So for a lot of those ladies, this having a little bit more coverage and the Euro style it's kind of covered in at the back is going to be a lot more comfortable. So yeah, that is something I've also been working on.
Excellent. We should just leave that in. That'll embarrass her when she does the editing. We won't mention that. Oh my god, it literally is that bad that we have to have a reminder for my wife to drink water.
I think I need that.
Yeah, probably not fun. What else in the bikini? Any inside secrets about what's the hot colors that everybody's going for? Any favorites already?
It's pretty dispersed at the moment, but I do think a trend for this year is definitely including neon colors and neon AB stones in particular, which is really exciting because typically, especially because IFBB generally sets the tone for kind of what people want from a bikini, and it's always been very standard colors. And people now are using those standard colors, but then incorporating a hint of neon into it, which I've been doing for a couple of years now. So that's really exciting because that's like a style that I absolutely love. Like the European suits, for example, the colors they use are incredible. We tend to, in the Western side of things, we tend to be a little bit more bland. So I think we're starting to get a little bit more of a mix of having some of those fun, exciting colors in there to make things stand out and pop more, but also not being too loud that it's distracting. So we want it to be vibrant, we want it to pop, but we also don't want it to necessarily distract from the physique. So it is exciting that we're getting a few more color pops in there, which is something
a bit more adventurous, shall we say?
Yeah, because otherwise it's just boring. Like I hate doing one color suits. I find them so boring. Like they also just look flat on stage. I don't like it. They just look. It looks flat. You don't get the extra sparkle. Like if you have like 4 colors, you get all these. Even if they're similar colors, you get all these cool different color reflections when you're on stage, and it just looks awesome. And it makes your suit look shinier. So yeah,
And it's all about the shiny sparkles.
it is all about the shiny sparkles. We love shiny sparkles.
Yep. Yes. Anyway. Well, that'll be exciting to see because, as you said, it's like if it's just a repeat, rinse and repeat from last year. I mean, I'm assuming all the wellness girls are going red.
It is a trend.
They could do multicolored red just to step it up a notch.
I have got a couple of different shades of red, but yes, they do tend to all very, very much like a red. It is wellness uniform.
Yep. It's like literally like you're doing wellness. Here's your bikini. We have probably waffled on enough today, but thank you for joining us here at the Macro Lounge this week. We hope you've enjoyed your cardio or your drive or your commute to work. As always, I'd be remiss if I didn't remind everybody to like and subscribe on YouTube and Spotify because it does actually help increase our ability for people to be able to find and listen to whatever complete waffle Rachel and I come up with for the week. And keep those Sharons coming in. They're always interesting when they pop out. I always like the ones that say, please make this confidential. You're like, okay, or anonymous. But yes, please like, subscribe on YouTube and Spotify, and we will see you all next Monday bright and early at, I believe, 5 in the morning.
Enjoy.